husband somehow caught me cheating and replaced my lube with super glue. I almost got a severe infection that would have cost me my life and stopped me from ever being a true woman, all because of my husband. He replaced my lube with super glue after he caught me cheating. My hands are shaking as I write this because I cannot believe how close I was to making the biggest mistake of my life. How could a man be so heartless? He knows what lubes are used for. What if I used it? I was honestly so close to using it that day, and that's why I'm filled with dread. I cannot help but keep asking myself questions like, what could have happened if I used it? What would have been the side effects? These questions kept on recurring in my mind, and it still does. Do you want to know how my husband and I went from being couples to enemies and now we're getting through a divorce? It all started from me cheating. I cheated, yes, but nothing in the world justifies what that man almost did to me. I can't reveal our real names, so I'll be going by the name Tia, and my husband will be Finn. Finn is a professional barber and he owns his own barking salon. I am a waitress, and sometimes I also work as a salesperson. So to cut things short, I do side jobs whenever I can. I did graduate college, but I just didn't study anything that was profitable enough to get me a good-paying job, so here I am. Finn and I have been married for over 3 years now. We decided not to have children yet because he wants to have enough savings to take up the responsibility of having kids. I don't have a problem with that because honestly, I'm not even ready to have kids now. But that's besides the fact in this situation anyway. Like I said, I'm a waitress, and being a waitress comes with a lot of distractions. I wasn't a waitress before I got married to Finn, but my desire to look for a good-paying job is what made me decide to get into the waitress business. Finn hated the idea immediately I made it known to him. He didn't like the fact that I wanted to go be a waitress. According to him, I was just looking for ways to start cheating on him. I found his words very hurtful because all I wanted to do was earn my own money. I never imagined that he would get angry at the idea of that. I actually believed that I was going to be the one doing him a favor by getting a job, but Finn had other things in mind. Things got really messy when he offered me a job at his barbershop. I mean, why? That's still the question I ask myself till this day. Why did my husband think that offering me a job at his barbershop was a good idea? I hated the idea of being under him. I knew it was just an excuse for him to keep an eye on me and watch all my movements. He wanted a reason to stare at me all day and control everything I do. I just knew deep down in me that he could not be trusted. Let me clear this up first of all. It's not like I had any ill intentions in mind, I just didn't want or like the idea of working for Finn. I knew that he would decide not to pay me if he wanted, and that he would know exactly how much I earned. The main reason I even decided to start working was so I could be independent. And I know fully well that starting up a job with my husband and working under him doesn't make me independent. I didn't want that, so I made it clear to him. But then Finn became very annoying with the way he handled the situation. He just got too controlling and tried playing mind games with me. Okay, I told him I was ready to take up any job apart from being a waitress since he despised it very much, but only if he got me a job that could be as flexible and stress-free like the waiting job I had gotten. But instead of Finn actually doing as I asked, he decided to get me a job under his friends. He wanted me to work for one of his other friends. Of course, I didn't accept that because I could tell that all he was after was just trying to limit my independence. I didn't want to be put in a situation where I answered to my husband's friend and where my job lies in the hands of my husband technically. I was tired of being a housewife and I needed independence. The waiting job was the best I could find, and I had told myself that if wedding tables was going to be the solution, then I had no problem with it. So I started the job even though Finn made it clear that he didn't like the idea of me setting tables. I asked him to state his reasons, and he stated that I'd start wearing skimpy clothes that were too revealing and I'd have to flirt with men. According to him, those were not appropriate things for a married woman to do, and it was disrespectful to him. I didn't see his point because I found his restrictions just too limiting. I wanted a better life for myself, and I wanted to be able to afford the things I wanted in life, so I refused to listen to him. I took the job like I said, but that didn't make anything easier. I could tell with each passing day that Finn was angry and that he didn't like my job one bit. But I made it clear to him that I wasn't going to quit. Can you believe that just because of my decision to take the job and not listen to him, Finn decided to give me an attitude for 2 weeks straight? Deep down, I knew that it had to be his stupid friends that were putting ideas into his head, because it just didn't make sense to me that he would get angry about something so trivial. But luckily, with the intervention of my mother, we were able to work things out. Yes, I had to call the attention of my mother because I just got sick and tired of his attitude and everything he was doing. So I had to make sure my mother knew about it and tried to settle the dispute between us. Thankfully, it actually worked out and things got better. But that was until I made things worse. Yeah, I know how that sounds, right? I'm the one who wanted the marriage to work so badly, but I'm still the one who ended up ruining everything at the end of the day. It actually hurts my pride, but I still know that the temptation was just too irritable. I got carried away and I let the circumstances I was faced with get the better of me. I saw a man that just kept on approaching me, and then I felt like the best decision I could make was get with that man. So if you're wondering, yes, being a waitress did actually expose me to a lot of temptations and ended up putting me up on a silver platter to the numerous guys that tried to get with me. I noticed that a lot of men would make at me when I served them at their table. It started off with just 1 or 2 men acting that way, but as time went on, I honestly lost count of the numbers. I just realized that there were a lot of men who had the audacity to touch me inappropriately. I began to realize that being a waitress wasn't going to be easy, but I didn't want to quit because I didn't want to be a loser. So I decided to be smart about my movements and not tolerate any type of violation. Of course, I had to do that in a subtle way so I would not end up getting fired. I think I did a pretty good job at everything, but that was until I met Idris. Idris is my affair partner and the man that has turned me into a cheater. What actually brought me and Idris together was his single act of kindness to me one day. On that particular day, some men tried to tease me inappropriately, and I got very uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do since my boss had caught me being rude to customers many times already, so I just decided to keep shut. But thankfully, Idris was able to step in. I didn't know Jim before then, so you can just imagine how surprised I was when a total stranger decided to step up and help me. Although I was really surprised, I was low-key and very grateful for the intervention, because it helped me get out of the awkward situation I had found myself in. But just as one would expect, Idris didn't just help me without requesting something in return. He asked for my phone number, and just because he helped me, a part of me decided to just accept his offer and give the phone number to him. You can very well say that was the beginning of my trauma, or rather, that was the beginning of my cheating. Idris was so calm and collected that I kept wondering if he was just pretending or trying to get something from me. For the first 3 weeks after he got my phone number, he didn't try to reach out to me like I expected. Normally, I expected him to reach out to me immediately, but his reaction was different. He gave me time and space and didn't even attempt to call. It even got to the point where I felt like I was the one now craving his calls and attention. I realized that I low-key wanted him to call me. Half of the reason was because colleagues at work kept telling me that he was a rich man. I had told them about my encounter with Idris, and even without explaining too much, they instantly recognized who I was talking about. It was a thing that surprised me, but I just went on with it. But one day, I eventually got the call that I had been waiting for. Idris finally decided to contact me. He asked if I was free after work and if I was interested in seeing him. I agreed to see him because, like I said, I had been waiting for his call, so it made sense that I would want to see him. When we met up, I think it's safe to say that he was the perfect definition of a gentleman. That was my first impression of him because he gave off this nice vibe and he was really calm and protective. He asked why I chose to work as a waiter and even offered to find me a new job. Of course, for someone like me who was struggling to get some extra cash, that offer sounded really good, but I just had to hold on and wait for the right moment. I didn't want to just accept the offer just like that. I felt like it was too soon and that it would be better to wait longer. So I just stuck with going out with him and enjoying the few food and free dates that he offered me. I didn't tell Finn about my encounter with Idris because I was just so sure that he was going to make a big deal out of it, and I didn't want that. To me, I was just harmlessly enjoying free drinks and free food. At the end of the day, things started getting ugly and serious. Idris started asking me to come to his house so we could hang out and stuff like that. I didn't think of it as something that was a big deal, and I tried to wave it away at first, but I increasingly saw that he was continuously telling me to come to his house. At that time, I was already too smitten by him, I won't lie. Instead of me actually resisting him and trying my best to stay away from him, I got more obsessed with his gift and everything about him. It got to a point that I stopped actually going to work and all I did was go to his house and spend time with him. I no longer went to work and made up excuses to the extent that my boss fired. I didn't exactly cheat on Finn immediately and it all just started with hugs and pecks. But as time went on, that stopped and I got intimate with Finn. I really did try my best to avoid getting intimate with Idris, but all my efforts actually went in vain and I had no choice than to eventually go with it. I was smitten by him and all he did for me. I didn't just sleep with him once. I did it many times and I am honestly too ashamed to even admit it. Not in a million years did I think that I would cheat on my husband one day like that. He was always so nice and caring, and deep down, I just knew that he didn't deserve to be cheated on the way I cheated on him. But I didn't stop there, even though a part of my kind told me I was wrong. I continued seeing Idris and lying to my husband. It got to a point where I didn't even want to go home anymore at night. I wanted to stay at Idris's place all day. But one day I finally decided to sleep over, and that's what raised the alarm for my husband. Finn Advent suspecting that there was something wrong, and that move I made was just designed. He needed to know that I needed to be watched. Yesterday, keeping an eye on me, and that's how he eventually found out I was cheating on him. The first day he decided to confront me and ask me for the truth. He asked why I was coming late and if it was because work was being difficult. I brushed it up and said we were just having a lot of customers and that's why I was delaying. I thought that my little excuse will be enough to get him off my neck, but that was very enough, and that only made him more suspicious. I cannot even believe still to this day that my husband was able to find out the truth. I didn't expect such a move from him, and it still baffled me that he was able to find everything out. He made me so relaxed about the whole thing just so he could fool me into thinking that he believes me. I thought he bought my lies and wasn't going to investigate or try to find out the truth. Well, that was all a lie because he did end up finding out. And one of the ways he got to know about the truth was from my former colleagues. Women have always had a jealous trait to them, but I had no idea that trait could actually go so far. Not in alien years did I think that the other girl at work were so jealous of my relationship with Idris that they would try to use it against me. I didn't tell any of them I was married. In fact, I never shared any personal information about myself to others before. But it happened that my laid-back nature and reserved nature did absolutely nothing to help me. Instead, it felt like my laid-back nature was working against me. I know you might wonder how my colleagues were able to get at me when I never admitted to any of them that I was married. Well, they were able to do so because my husband decided to go to the restaurant and catch me lying. Like I said earlier, I had worked 2 jobs and not just one. Sometimes I was a salesperson and sometimes I was a waitress. It all just depended on my mood and what I wanted to do. And that's exactly how I unknowingly fell into their trap. I wasn't smart enough to cover my traps. I had stopped working as a salesperson from after I got with Idris. I thought it was a waste of time to work 2 jobs when there was a man that was literally ready to give me anything I wanted. So let's get back to how Finn was able to catch me in the act. What he did was that he went to the restaurant and asked for me. Then told him I no longer worked there and asked him why he was looking for me. Those jealous ladies at work made sure they got the fact that I was married out of him. I still can't fathom the fact that Finn didn't hesitate to put it out there that we were married. It just rubs me off the wrong way because I feel like everything could have been avoided if he was more secretive. Anyway, he told them I was his wife, and that's when my colleagues decided to spill the beans and tell UK all about Kai escapees with Idris. They left nothing out of the information they gave him, and they went as far as showing him proof. Yes, it shouldn't surprise you that they actually had pictures of me with Idris. I mean, when I found out, I was beyond bewildered. But then after Finn found out the truth, instead of him to confront IR, ask what was going on, he decided to use the whole thing against me. He decided to do something that would have ruined me as a woman. I do not doubt that his stupid friends had something to do with everything that's going on, because I felt that's the only explanation for how inconsiderate his actions were. He refused to talk things out. Isn't it a said rule that couples sets meant to talk things out when they had arguments? I mean, that's what I expected, but it so happened that it's not what I got. He chose to replace my lube with super glue. I mean, first of all, I didn't ever think I'd get caught. I thought I was just too good and smart in my plans that there was no way he was going to find out. That's why I didn't even have a backup plan. I'm kind. I mean, how am I supposed to have a backup plan when, like I said, I didn't expect it? Sometimes into my relationship with Idris, he got really obsessed with intimate calls and what people usually refer to as C*ting. I didn't like the thought of it at first, but because of my desire to please him, I started doing it. I didn't have a lubricant in the hour before, but I got it while I was having an affair with Idris. It's just something that I noticed that he lived to use a lot. Snee decided to purchase it. I made the mistake of not putting it away one day, and I think that's how Idris was able to get a hold of it. I think he got angry that I suddenly had a lube, and that's one of the evidences he needed. I'm sure he knew what I was up to, so he decided to deal with me. So 2 weeks ago, Idris demanded for a video call like he usually did, and I'm those calls. He usually liked to see me touch myself and use the lube while at it. I got everything ready in the bathroom and locked the door. I set the camera like usual and was ready to do what I usually did. But that's until I noticed that something just didn't add up. When I added so lube to my hand in an attempt to apply it, I noticed that the texture was different. What was worse was that my hands started sticking together and it was quite difficult to separate it. I stared at my hand in disbelief because, to be honest, I just couldn't believe that as possible. I had no idea how the lube got so sticky. At first, I just imagined that it got bad, but then it took me a while to realize that it had been tampered with. I didn't need a fortune teller to tell me who the culprit was. I was just so damn sure that Finn was at fault, so I decided to confront him and ask him about everything. Of course, he instantly got defensive and turned everything on me. He told me that if I didn't cheat, then he might have not done what he did. I mean, can you guys just imagine the audacity? That man added super glue to my lube. If I had used it, what would have happened? What would have been the complications? I knew I cheated, but was my cheating actually so bad that he would stoop that low? Was it worth it to do that to a woman he married for 3 years? After all that, instead of him to feel remorseful, he actually asked me to leave the house. Yes, you read that right. He asked me to vacate the house because, in his words, I didn't deserve to stay in the house with him. Did I leave? Of course I left. Are you kidding me? I left immediately. Even though he reigned first in me and naked me the biggest mistake in his life, I still left. I didn't try to beg because, first of all, I didn't deserve to be treated that way, and second of all, I was so sure Idris would take me in, and he did. But now I'm not sure he still wants me here because he has hard from a caring guy to a grumpy old man. I need to act fast because Finn already sent me the divorce papers over a week ago. I need advice on what to do and how to recover from this. Any ideas would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Update. I'm now divorced, heartbroken, devastated, and humiliated. Worst of all, I'm single and broke. Yes, guys, it didn't end well for me. It didn't end up getting rosy. Nothing I did was able to keep Idris from kicking me out. He didn't just change, I think I never truly knew him. He liked me better when I wasn't under his roof, feeding off him or bring a liability. He never wanted anything serious. By the time I realized this, my divorce was already finalized and my relationship with Finn was broken beyond repair. I still cannot believe just how much my life has changed within this short period. I'm sincerely devastated, and I regret everything I did. I'm so ashamed of myself, and whenever I read my first update about this topic, I can't help but hide my head in shame. A married woman turned into a loose plaything just because of greed. I really have no reason to raise my head up high, but one day, I hope I will.